Hey, great people, you're welcome in today's session. We want to talk about non-farm payroll for today and see how we can actually handle non-farm payroll. It is very important that you should know that every first Friday of every month, there is this important economic information coming from the United States that affects the United States dollars, which is called non-farm payroll. This basically the news, and the non-farm payroll news is accompanied by other news around it. And so into this program, I'm going to talk how you can effectively trade in non-farm payroll and how you could make the maximum out of non-farm payroll. But before we continue, please guys, I would like you to share, comment, and give this YouTube channel a like. Please do subscribe to our YouTube channel down in the subscription below, the subscription button below, and make sure that you always check back for quality content like this one. I believe that as a Forex trader, you always need quality guidance and quality information. And so make sure you turn on the notification bell so that you can always come back and get notified at every moment we drop important contents like this one. So today is Friday, November 3rd, and at 1:30 p.m. GMT plus 1, we are going to be having the news on a powerful news on the US dollars. We also have very important, some other important news on the Canadian dollars, like the unemployment change and unemployment rate. But our main core focus here is going to be on the US dollars, which is basically average hourly earnings, unemployment rate, and the king non-farm payroll. So within these three news that is going to be happening on the US dollars today, I'll prefer that we consider the non-farm payroll to be the major news of the day. So how are you going to trade non-farm payroll after the news has been released? Yeah, before we get back to how to trade, let me quickly take you to my chart and tell you what I'm thinking about the dollar index, which is basically the measurement of the US economy, the strength of the US economy against a basket of certain economy, which is about 7 of them. The dollar index has a valuable role to play when it comes to gauge strength of the US dollars against some number of currencies. And so it is very vital that you have a technical view of what the dollar index is saying before non-farm payroll. So when I look at non-farm payroll, we can quickly, clearly identify that the non-farm payroll chart has been consolidating right back from September 25th till now on November 3rd. The non-farm payroll could actually bring a new breath in the strength of the US economy. Today might be a great moment where the dollar index chart could have a lift out of this structure, or it could gather enough momentum to go out of this major consolidation that we have been facing for the past 1 month. You can clearly see the structure on the 4 hours chart, and I will remain neutral for the moment till the end or at the release of the news. I will remain neutral for the strength of the US dollars as I've been able to spot this consolidation that has been occurring. So looking at the chart and the strength of the US dollars, that is what I have to say, remaining neutral till the non-farm payroll data is released. So let's go back to our news and see what we should do. So immediately you look at the non-farm payroll, it is very important to understand what the non-farm payroll is. The non-farm payroll is a change in the number of employed people during the previous month, excluding those in the farming industry. So it measures a certain degree of the US economy by looking at the number of people that have been employed within the previous month, excluding that employed in the farming industry. And so when we have this number of unemployed people greater than what economic experts are forecasting, then it will be very good for the United States. So we can actually look back to the past history of non-farm payroll. It will help us to actually gauge what can happen. So if we look at the past history of non-farm payroll that occurred on October 6th, what happened was that the forecasted value for non-farm payroll was 1,751 new employment, but the actual value came out to be 3,360 new employments. So we had a greater value with a great deviation that went so high from the forecasted value, and that was extremely beautiful for the US dollars, and it gave the US dollars some beautiful strength. And it was actually a massive moment that we observed in the market. So what about today? So today, look at what the economics experts are saying. What are they saying? So the economic experts are saying that the non-farm payroll value today is forecasted around 1,780,000 new employment. But what if the actual value released today is greater than this value given by the economic experts? Then definitely we are going to see a very strong bullish. We are going to be seeing a very strong USD. But if it happens that this value that we are going to be getting in few hours from now is lesser than this forecasted value, then it will be bad for the United States dollars. So how are you going to trade non-farm payroll? That is the core of this video. Now, before you start developing a strategy on how to trade non-farm payroll, I want you to consider that non-farm payroll is not coming up alone. Non-farm payroll is coming up with two other news, and all of them are high impact news, and also accompanied by a very important news on the Canadian dollars. So first of all, currency pair like USD CAD should be avoided during this news for now, because it might cause a lot of confusion since both currency have great fundamental affecting them at the same time. So you should avoid currencies like USD CAD at the very moment. Go on currencies like EUR USD, GBP USD. And on these currency pairs, I want you to understand that the very first effect that you are going to have when the news is released will be the effect of the average hourly earnings and the effect of unemployment change. So these two news could have negative or positive effect on the US dollars, but I want you to only consider the non-farm payroll data release. So that's the data we are going to be reading. And if the two average hourly earnings and unemployment rate favors the non-farm payroll, that could really amplify the effect of the non-farm payroll. But if they do not occur and favor what is happening for non-farm payroll will still override the two. So what are you going to do? This is a strategy that you should implement to make sure that you stay safe and make much out of this. So let's go to the chart, and we're going to be looking at currency pairs like GBP USD, and I'm also going to look at the currency strength meter, which I'm going to come back to it and tell you how you're going to be using it today. So on the currency strength meter, I'm just going to look into the currency strength meter from Live Chat UK to check the best and the weakest currency for today. So the weakest currency at the very moment as we speak is the US dollars and the Canadian dollars, and the strongest is actually Great Britain pounds. So when the news is going to be releasing, if this favor the US dollars and you are trading it against GBP, for example, the amount of movement or the deviation will not be as massive as you trade against Japanese yen. So for example, a currency pair like Japanese yen, if the US dollars get strong and the Japanese yen is not that strong, you are going to see a very much move on the currency pairs like USD Japanese yen than on GBP USD, because the both of the pairs were going to be strong, even though we are still going to see the move, but it will not be as intensified as in the case of USD Japanese yen. So it's always good to check the weakest currency before the news and the strongest before the news, so that you can actually relate the strength or the weakness of the dollars against the opposites that you've seen in the market to better have more positive movement, more pips generated. But still, non-farm payroll is very powerful, and we're going to see the effect on almost all the pairs. But I'm just giving you a trick to maximize on currency pairs that are going to be in weaker strength or stronger strength in the currency meta in relation to the US dollars. So that is just one single trick. And then now let's go back to the chart. So on the chart at the very moment, it is good to map your key structures, understand your high and your lows, your key value zones like this buy to sell candle zones here. And these zones, these key zones, these major zones like this is going to serve you for direction when we have the two first news, like the average hourly earnings that is going to be coming up. So at that very moment, those news could push to the direction of some major structure, but the non-farm payroll is going to take the market from that structure. So once you have the result of the non-farm payroll, that's where you're going to come on your chart now. See how you could enter the market based on those structure that you have mapped. So it is very important to trade 5 minutes after the news. Do not trouble to get into the news at the very moment, because the effect of the news is going to be seen in the market the whole of today. So pay attention to the effect of the news, what is going to be saying. For example, if the US dollars becomes strong during the news of today, then we are going to be expecting that Euro USD should sell massively, because it's going to be stronger than the euro, and we are going to see a massive sell possibly. And mapping your important structures along the line will help you, give you entry and exit. So do not make decision at the very moment based on the price action you are seeing on your chart, but only make decision after reading the information of the news. And so your price action should be able to follow and reflect the news, the news. So if I have, for example, this trend line to be a structure where I can sell the US dollars there, I'm going to make good use of it after the news. So if the US dollars become strong, I may wait for a break and retest of this trend line, for example, to enter my trade. That would be a strategy to trade the non-farm payroll if it is good for the US dollars. That is an example. And let's say in another case where we have the non-farm payroll that got weakened the dollars. We also have another trend line just above where it is at the moment. So if the non-farm payroll is bad for the US dollars, we are going to see a rally on a currency pair like Euro USD. And so how am I going to trade it? I may have to wait for a break of this trend line, for example, and wait for a break and retest of it to execute my trade. So I'm going to understand the fundamental, and the fundamental is going to give me the new market trend. You get it? And then from there, I'm going to look at my structures when price will come to react to them after the news, and I'm going to take my trade direction in favor of the trend that the non-farm payroll has given. And by doing so, you are going to see a great improvement in your trade for today. Okay, guys, if this has helped you, make sure you like, you share, and subscribe on the Bellforex YouTube channel as massive as possible. Make sure you follow Bellforex on Facebook, on Instagram, and also make sure that you share our post and our like. If you love such quality content, we're going to be bringing more to you in the days ahead. Okay, great people. See you after the non-farm payroll. We are going to do an evaluation tomorrow. Don't forget, tomorrow we have a very powerful program on our Facebook page where we are going to be actually teaching some powerful strategy absolutely for free at 4:30 a.m. GMT +1. So make sure you are part of it. Thank you. Let's go.